Well, I guess it's time for another Iceberg. Today's Iceberg is going to be all about the third generation of My Little Pony. Not to be confused with G4, the one that spawned the whole brony subculture, or the upcoming G5, G3 was an iteration of My Little Pony lasting from around 2003 to 2010. Most material for G3 was put out on home video and not aired on television until the 2010s. Notable specials and shorts include The Princess Promenade, Pinkie Pie and the Ladybug Jamboree, Newborn Cuties, and A Very Minty Christmas. In the heyday of the brony fandom, people like to disregard G3 a lot because it didn't live up to the quality that G4 or Friendship is Magic had. Personally, I kinda like it, at least the early stuff up until 2007. It's obviously for very small children, even more so as it went on, but it has a really nostalgic feeling to it, even if I didn't watch any of the specials as a kid. It's fun, lighthearted, and really easygoing. Don't go into it looking for anything deep, but if you're one of those people with a fondness for quaint little kids media, you might want to give it a try. That being said, let's take a deep dive into this iceberg. I won't be explaining how this works because it's been over a year since the Mario 64 video was published and I won't waste your time explaining something that everybody knows. You know who you are. Anyway, here it is. I know it looks kinda barren, but trust me, there's a lot to cover here. Looking in Google Docs, it has like 2,000 more words than the My Little Ponytails iceberg, and some of the levels alone are like 12 minutes of recording in Audacity. Sit tight and grab your rainbow berry pie and chocolate chip checkers, because we're gonna take a deep dive into the My Little Pony Generation 3 iceberg. Starting with Level 1, The Sky. Let's start off with Layer 1. I mean, realistically, where else would we? This layer encompasses everything that your average fan of My Little Pony might know about G3, plus some other minor details. Brony hate. I already mentioned this in the intro, but bronies didn't like G3. They didn't like most of the earlier generations, but G3 was the one that a lot of people downright hated. Mostly because it wasn't made with adults in mind. If they didn't personally enjoy it, it had to be objectively bad. Rainbow Dash always dresses in style. This refers to a line in the G3 theme song and also the personality that Rainbow Dash had in G3, which is almost the complete opposite of her G4 counterpart. In G4, Rainbow Dash is a sporty Pegasus who loves to fly. In G3, Rainbow Dash is an Earth Pony who speaks in a British accent and has an interest in fashion. If anything, the G4 version of Rarity is closer to the original Rainbow Dash than the version of her in G4. Webisodes. In 2009, a couple of webisodes were released as part of G3.5, which simplified the character designs and changed up a few of the characters' personalities. There are only two, being Sweetie Belle's Gumball House Surprise and Pinkie Pie's Ferris Wheel Adventure. There's no record, at least to my knowledge, of these being available online, only on DVD. So my little wiki could be lying about that or inaccurate, or I could be dumb. Returning ponies. This is gonna be a thing in every iceberg that isn't about G4. G3 had a few ponies that were carried over from G1, which was the original version of MLP from the 1980s. Minty, Applejack, and Twilight are a few. The main 6 ponies in G4 are all based on G3 ponies as well, with obvious changes in character design and in personality. Other characters like Sweetie Belle, Scootaloo, and Cheerilee also come back from G4 and are the closest to their G3 counterparts. In both G3.5 and in G4, Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo are significantly younger than the rest of the main characters. Cheerilee is a school teacher in G4, playing a maternal role for the two. This is a carryover from G3 when Cheerilee was Scootaloo's older sister. This also spawned the fan theory that Cheerilee was Scootaloo's real mother, and had to give the baby away for whatever reason. Similar to the Sweetie Belle being Rarity's daughter theory from the first iceberg I did. Those aren't the only G4 ponies who share names with G3 ones, but if I listed all of them, we'd be here all day. The only pony from G3 that you can say is coming back for Generation 5 is Alphabeetle, who in G3 looked like this, but in G5 looks like this. There are also 3 ponies with Sunny in their name, Sunny Days, Sunny Salsa, and Sunny Sparkles. So you can take your guess for which one, if any of them, that Sunny Star Scout is based on. Newborn Cuties. Newborn Cuties is a spin-off of G3.5, which is itself a spin-off of G3. In Newborn Cuties, the characters are aged down to be infants. The shorts for this line of ponies are noticeably low quality, with cheap flash animation, and voice actors who are probably just the producer's kids that they dragged on to be in them. Minty Pie. Minty Pie refers to a ship between the characters of Minty and Pinkie Pie. The two are commonly seen together, like in Come Back Lily Lightly and A Very Minty Christmas. Their close friendship leads a few people to ship them together, and I don't object to it, I think they're cute. Cutie mark origins. From Generation 1 to Generation 3, the symbols on the pony's flanks didn't have a name. They were either called just that, symbols, or rump designs. Generation 3 was the first instance of the term cutie mark being used for the symbols, which in G3 is fun and catchy and works with the girly branding, but it's kinda questionable in G4, being as high fantasy and lore heavy as it is. G3 style crossover ponies. In the late 2010s till now, Hasbro started making these crossover ponies as collector's items, with properties like Transformers, Dungeons & Dragons, and Stranger Things. Though some are made in the style of G1, a few of these resemble the G3 models more, like Plasmane, the Ghostbuster pony. Bet you can't make a face crazier than this! This is a line from the episode Too Many Pinkie Pies, from G4, where that version of Pinkie Pie morphs her face into the G3 design for a quick gag. Possibly as a knock at G3, since again, fans of G4 really didn't like it. Gibberish Names. If you go onto any database for G3 ponies, you'll start to notice that a lot of the names don't make sense. G1 names are stuff like Fizzy, Cotton Candy, Wind Whistler, and Bowtie, just cute stuff. G4 names are like Sunset Shimmer, Trixie Lulamoon, fancy cosmic sounding names, or more often stuff with a first and last name like Lara Heartstrings or Photo Finish. But G3 names? Let me read you some of them. Bebop, Bright Sprightly, Blushy, Cheerilee, Fluffaluf, Giggle Bean, Goody Goody, Guava Lava, Hokey Pokey, Hula Lula, Jolly Lolly, Keen Bean, Lollygiggle, Loop-de-da, Pinkie Pie, Romperoony, Razzaroo, Swirly Pop, Tinka Tinka 2, Toodaloo, Tralala, Twirlarina, Wish-a-Whirl, and Zipsy. There are a lot of names that are normal in G3, but those stand out just because there are so many of them. And a lot of these characters I listed here are protagonists in the specials and shorts. And that's not a bad thing. I'm kinda kissing G3's flank in this video already, but as somebody who makes OCs, I love it whenever people take the opportunity to give characters just the stupidest sounding names, like the guys from Hell of a Boss, or something else I forgot I was gonna bring up. Santa Claus is canon. I already talked about this in the first Iceberg, but the ponies in G3 celebrate Christmas, meaning that Jesus in some form exists in the pony world. I doubt it's Pony Jesus though, since Santa Claus is implied to be human, and as we'll see, a lot of the ponies' names are based on real-world foreign locations. G3 probably takes place in our world, meaning that there will be human Jesus. Now that I mention it, G3 taking place in the real world, or like, being in the same continuity as G1, which also took place in the real world, that should have been its own entry. G4 voice actors. Yeah, another one that was also on the My Little Ponytails Iceberg. Though some My Little Ponytails voice actors had minor roles or cameos in G4, a lot of the cast in Friendship is Magic are direct holdovers. Tabitha St. Germain, who voices Minty, also did the voice for G4's Rarity, Princess Luna, and Derpy. In fact, Derpy's voice in a few appearances was modeled after Tabitha's performance as Minty. Kathleen Barr, who played Kimono, as well as doing voiceovers for G3, voiced Trixie in G4. Kelly Sheridan, who played Cheerilee, went on to voice Starlight Glimmer in G4. Andrea Libman, Brian Drummond, and one more we'll get to later also had roles in both versions of MLP. Watching it do what? This is a line from the movie A Twinkle Wish Adventure, where the mayor of Ponyville mentions how she's watching her figure, and Sweetie Belle replies with, "Watching it do what?" This got shared around a few times, not to the effect of anything like the volcano scene from My Little Ponytails, but I've still seen it in a few places. I guess this might make some people lighten up towards G3.5, since it's a pretty funny joke, but the movie it comes from is one of my least favorites. People like to make fun of G3 and say it's made for babies, but Twinkle Wish Adventure is literally made for babies. It's so bad. Level 2, Tip of the Iceberg. G3.0 versus Core 7. People split up Generation 3 into two parts, G3 and G3.5, but it actually has 3 phases. In around 2006, the tie-in shorts started to focus around these 7 ponies exclusively. Pinkie Pie, Scootaloo, Toola Roola, Rainbow Dash, Sweetie Belle, Cheerilee, and Star Song. This phase of G3 was relegated to shorts, with 2 of those, Pinkie Pie's Special Day and Rainbow Dash's Special Day, being clip shows. This set of characters would also be the main set of ponies used in G3.5. Hawaiian pony names. We've already talked about Hula Lula, but there are some other ponies with names based on the Hawaiian language. Aloha Pearl, Luau, and Honolulu are 3 examples. Butterfly Island itself, the Pegasus homeland, is also modeled after Hawaii and other Pacific islands. And you've got other ponies like Coconut Cream, Coconut Grove, Pineapple Paradise, and a ton with palm trees for cutie marks. G3 actually had a lot of foreign inspiration for their ponies, as we'll see later down the iceberg. Some of them were more popular than others. Spike voiced Rarity. Another returning actress for Generation 4 was Kathy Westluck, who voiced Rarity the unicorn in G3. In the G4 TV series, she voices Spike the baby dragon, a character who has a crush on a unicorn named Rarity. Could this be a subtle nod by the casting director or something? Probably not, but it's fun to think about. Daisy Joe the cow. There's a pony named Daisy Joe who also appears in a few specials as a background pony, and who I happen to own a figure of. In Generation 4, one of the cows in the episode Applebuck Season goes by the name of Daisy Joe, another reference to G3 among the many others in the G4 series. Animation style change. This actually isn't about G3.5, but more about how the animation in G3 went from solid colors to a more shaded look as it went on. Sort of like all those Disney DVD covers, but in motion. The animation in the first few specials is actually really fluid for some reason, like in A Charming Birthday. Spike's full name. Spike the Dragon is a recurring character throughout the entire My Little Pony franchise. He appeared in G1, G4, and arguably in G2, but they never specified who this unnamed dragon was supposed to be. In G3, Spike plays the role of a wise old royal dignitary. His full name is Master Kenbroth Killspot and Heathspike. It's not really an unknown piece of trivia, he says it like 7 times, but it's interesting. Do you think the Spike in G1 or G4 has the same name? G1 Spike was raised to be a member of the villain T-Rac's evil army, and G4 Spike was hatched by the unicorn Twilight Sparkle, so it's less likely. First 50. This refers to an event that was held at the very beginning of G3, in 2003, 2004, and in 2005. The first 50 of every different pony off the production line would be auctioned off by eBay in partnership with Hasbro. This was way before they were available in stores, around a couple months. These first 50 edition ponies go for significantly more at resale and came with special certificates and stickers. The promotion included around 38 ponies over the 3 years, including ponies like Minty, Kimono, Rainbow Dash, and Thistle Whistle. Nintendo console games. To the dismay of a lot of fans, G4 was the only version of My Little Pony to receive video games on any official home console. Well, handhelds, but you know. Those being the Game Boy Advance game based on the Runaway Rainbow, and Pinkie Pie's Party on the DS. Both of these were published by THQ, who you may recognize if you grew up with any Nintendo system in the 2000s. Basically every licensed game for a movie, TV show, toy was put out by these guys. Hopefully if I'm able to find gameplay of these two, that's what you've been seeing so far in the background. Yeah, that's right, I've ripped off LS Mark, Pat Mac, Rebel Taxi, now we're doing Dr. Skipper. Now all I need is a guest star. Both of these games are minigame collections with a story mode, though Runaway Rainbows is more in-depth, as it actually follows the plot of the special, and you get to walk around more outside of the minigames. That's the second layer of the iceberg. We'll get into stuff that collectors of the toy line, and also what you could consider hardcore G3 fans will recognize. Level 3. Magnetic Hooves. Certain G3 ponies would have magnets on the bottom of their hooves, as noted by this heart symbol. This would be used to activate little features in certain playsets like the Crystal Castle. Think of it like if you ever played with Imaginext as a kid, and you'd have the little things that turn their feet. Apparently, the ponies' hooves stopped having magnets on them after 2007. This was because parents complained about kids swallowing them. Yikes. The Pony Project. I spent a good 30 minutes writing about this, and then I realized it probably would have been too long to fit into this iceberg, so that's going to be a part of a different video about custom MLP figures. All you need to know, it's an art exhibition charity auction thing with big 18-inch fancy pony statues. Minty's socks. The character Minty is shown to have a lot of socks. It's never known why she likes socks so much, but the Unsolved Mysteries section on the My Little Pony G3 wiki says that it could be because she got a pair of green socks for Christmas one year, giving her a reason to love both socks and the color green. Starcatcher Trans Pride. Oh great, here she goes with this again. Starcatcher is a Pegasus pony that appears in Dancing in the Clouds, Friends Are Never Far Away, and A Very Minty Christmas. Her color scheme of white, light pink, and light blue is similar to the transgender pride flag designed by Monica Helms in 1999. In the storybook Belle of the Ball, Starcatcher is incorrectly labeled as a boy. Was this an instance of misgendering her? Or calling them by preferred pronouns? And no, people in the comments, I don't mean that seriously. G3.5/HJ, alright? PC games. Besides the 2 console games, G3 had a few games for the PC. The My Little Pony PC Play Pack was published by Atari in 2004, and came with an exclusive figure of Baby Sparkleberry Swirl. Pinkie Pie's Party Parade was published by THQ in 2007, which, unlike the name suggests, isn't a port of the DS game. Both of those two are minigame collections, just like the Nintendo games. Prototype Pinkie Pie in 2003 magazine. Although Pinkie Pie, as the name suggests, is pink in all of her media appearances, one My Little Pony magazine available in 2003 shows what could possibly be a prototype model for the character. The hair color seems to be the same, but instead of pink, her coat is purple. I don't know how this happened. This specific catalog was available the same year as the first wave of G3 toys came out, so Pinkie actually being pink might have been a last-minute decision, or a beta version of Pinkie could have accidentally been used instead of the final one. Pinkie Squinks. Since we're already talking about Pinkie Pie, in the short Pinkie Pie and the Ladybug Jamboree, Pinkie Pie performs what's called a Pinkie Squink, where she squats down, flips her hair back and forth like Willow Smith, and winks. This projects an image of whatever she's thinking about in front of every other pony, and is accompanied by magic sparkles. It also gives her the ability to come up with new ideas, like what act to perform for the music festival in said short. Fans of G4 might recognize this. In G4, Pinkie Pie has her Pinkie Sense, where she can predict disasters before they happen by twitching her tail. This is even shown in the original 2008 animation test for G4, which makes me believe that it might not have been something that they consciously carried over from G3 and just a coincidence. Most of the early storylines in G4 came from Lauren Faust's childhood and the stories that she would make up while playing with her My Little Pony toys, possibly including the one with her Pinkie Sense. But I don't know. You're free to prove me wrong in the comments. G3.5 and FIM style overlap. There isn't really a whole lot to say about this. G3.5 and G4 look pretty alike. The pony snouts are both way smaller than actual horses, and their eyes are way too big. Again, going back to Lauren Faust, this overlap could have been because Hasbro gave her notes on what they wanted the ponies to look like. Either that, or it was just her art style. Dance Studio and other Flash games. G3 had console games, PC disc-based games, as well as games that you could play on the official My Little Pony website. Rainbow Wishes Roller Coaster is a game based on the short Dancing in the Clouds, where you catch butterflies while riding on a pre-rendered roller coaster track. Butterfly Island Adventure has you playing minigames in order to collect flowers to make a necklace. There's also a matching game which is exactly what it sounds like. Dance Studio was a game where you could program your own dance routines for the ponies to perform. The dance one is the most notable because there was a user on TikTok in 2020 who would use the Dance Studio game to make ponies dance to popular songs like WAP by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. Comic books. If you look up G3 scans online, you'll find a few of these comics. These were published in the My Little Pony Annual magazine, I'm guessing from 2004 to 2007. As much as I'd like to go into excruciating detail about them, these are kinda hard to come by online, only on a few Tumblr blogs which don't really give any information on who wrote them or did the art. That's a shame, these are some of my favorite pieces of G3 media. They're not laugh out loud funny or all that interesting, but they have some cute moments. And I really like the art style that they go for. There's one where the ponies go sledding and Rainbow Dash eats, one where Pinkie Pie becomes the muse to this unicorn painter, one where Fizzy Pop tries to walk on a homemade tightrope, one where Rainbow Dash teaches the other ponies how to paint, and one where a few ponies have a tea party, with all the others making excuses not to eat this one's food. If you want to read these, I'm going to link all the ones I found in the description. Other than that, there are other ones I can assume you can find by buying the actual physical magazines. Ethan Toavs orchestral arrangements. Ethan Toavs is an American composer who arranges pieces for concerts as well as other media. According to the About page on his website, most of his music is inspired by themes of nature or childhood. Being a big fan of MLP, he's composed several fan songs as well as orchestral and choral arrangements for most of the songs from G3. These are all super good, and again, I'm gonna link his channel in the description so you can listen to them. G3 getting this much love isn't something you see often, especially something as cool and professional as this. Comic-Con exclusives. Before G4 took off and we got SDCC exclusive figures like the official Derpy Hooves brushable, Hasbro put out a few Comic-Con exclusives for collectors in the late 2000s. This, as well as the Pony Project, kind of goes in line with the vinyl art scene that started to get big in the 2000s. Fans of Rebel Taxi will kinda know what I'm talking about. Vinyl figures now are seen as cheap, bottom-of-the-barrel collectibles for normies, but back in the 2000s and early 2010s, Specially designed vinyls were a big thing among artists. Ponies that were made include a ninja pony and 2 superhero ponies. You also had ponies with designs inspired by graffiti art, and a solid black and white pony, with symbols all over the coat. These all came in these square collector boxes that we'll see later down the iceberg when we talk about a different convention. Surprisingly, they're not that expensive, only going for around $50 on eBay. Alright, level 3 is over, but that doesn't mean we're completely into the depths. Layer 4. This level, surprisingly, still has things that people with somewhat of a passing knowledge on G3 will recognize or understand. But we're getting a lot more deep cuts here. 3D cutie marks. Ponies with 3D symbols is something that Hasbro experimented with starting in 2005 and ending in 2007. These were under 2 lines, Dream Design Ponies and Crystal Design Ponies. The crystals were different from the others in that their cutie marks were translucent. 29 ponies were released under both lines, with most of them being crystals. Pinkie Pie's mother. Ugh, I hate your mom. Dun dun dun, JK, she's a MILF. Can we have a sleepover? No, I don't wanna your mom. JK, she's a MILF. Yeah. But yeah, Pinkie Pie's mom appears in Newborn Cuties. She has a Karen haircut. Minty falls to her death. This refers to a scene in A Very Minty Christmas where Minty falls out of a balloon before being saved by some Pegasi. This is probably the most intense moment in all of G3, along with the waterfall scene from Runaway Rainbow. There could also be a theory that Minty didn't get carried away in time and is now in a coma or something. The world's biggest tea party. According to Wikipedia, quote, My Little Pony Live, The World's Biggest Tea Party, is a 2006 musical based on the My Little Pony franchise by Hasbro. The musical is produced by the VEE Corporation under the direction of Richard Thompson and Vincent Egan. The musical first began in October 2006 and later concluded its performance in 2008. The musical was released on DVD by Paramount Home Entertainment on September 16, 2008. And was filmed at the Kodak Theater. All shows were performed to a pre-recorded soundtrack." End quote. The show was performed using these uncanny-looking MLP mascot costumes. And not only did it have most of the pony characters from the 03 to 06 run of specials, but it also featured some Ladybug characters, Spike the Dragon, and the 3 Breezy ponies, Zipsy, Tralala, and Tiddlywink. Since they were smaller, the Breezies were performed by puppeteers on sticks from behind whatever this is. The show had a simple plot, with the ponies being bored and deciding to throw a big tea party. Most of the show's songs are original, with some being borrowed from the specials and shorts. Unicorn Cheerilee. Cheerilee is a character that appears in every iteration of G3, but she did change species when the Core 7 reboot came out. In The Runaway Rainbow from 2006, Cheerilee is one of the 4 crystal princesses who needs to raise the rainbow, and serves as a mentor to Rarity, who has to teach her to use the magic wand. One thing that carries over from every version of Cheerilee, even in G4, is her having this sort of mentor role which I mentioned earlier. In G3.5 and the Core 7 shorts, she likes to tell stories, and in G4, she's Ponyville's resident school teacher. Anthro Figures. This refers to the Ponyville line of ponies and playsets released in the late 2000s. Though most of the ponies are smaller versions of their G3.5 figures with molded hair, a few of them wear clothes and stand on 2 legs. Like this Sing and Dance Star song and the Sweetie Belle figure in the Cafe Sweet Shop playset. This isn't the only time that MLP would do anthropomorphized ponies. In 2020, during G4.5, Hasbro made the Smash and Fashion line of ponies that stood on 2 legs and could wear clothes that came in these little surprise bags. My Little Pony Fair. My Little Pony Fair was an event that was held from 2004 until 2019. The first one was held around August 2nd to 3rd, possibly in line with International Pony Day, which is August 1st. Unlike pony conventions that would pop up in the 2010s, this set of fairs was for collectors and fans of the toys, both young and old. There's no set location for My Little Pony Fair, having first been held in Las Vegas, then Minnesota, then San Francisco, and somewhere different every following year. The first few were centered around G1 to G3 obviously, with G4 stuff coming in around 2012. Starting with Pony Fair 2005, exclusive ponies could be bought by guests who attended. These exclusives are similar to the G3 Comic-Con ponies in style, with the square boxes and fancy designs. The G4 Pony Fair ponies would be more elaborate, like this Discord and Fluttershy set, and this Maniac and Spike set. My Little Pony Fair 2020 and 2021 were put on hold due to the pandemic, but the 2021 convention still has a chance of happening and being rescheduled. Collector websites. In the same league as the old pony fairs, collector websites are something that emerged in the late 90s and 2000s for people to show off their pony collections or to catalog an official list of ponies. A lot of these are down or haven't been updated in a while, but some are still up and running, even updated with G4 and G5. Sites like this were actually a helpful resource for identifying ponies for this video. Earth Pony Starcatcher. Though Starcatcher is a Pegasus pony, in one of the later specials apparently she appears as an Earth pony for a few scenes. I thought this was in a very Minty Christmas, but no, she's a Pegasus in that. All-female society. Speaking of a very Minty Christmas, in that one of the songs has the lyric, "Every boy and girl," but there are no boy ponies in the entirety of Ponyville. The only male character in all of G3 that I know of is Spike. In A Twinkle Wish Adventure, a pony that's believed to be a boy appears in one of the crowd shots, but that's debatable. So, where are the boys? How do the ponies reproduce? Well, we'll cover that when we get to the G1 Iceberg. Disney Princess Crossover. In 2004, the shop Once Upon a Toy Store in downtown Disney Orlando and California featured these exclusive ponies. They were the same as the regular versions of them, Minty, Kimono, Pinkie Pie, and Sparkleworks, but came with an exclusive cape and hat. Each one of them is labeled as dressing up as a certain Disney princess, Belle, Ariel, Cinderella, and Aurora respectively. These were also available through Disney's mail order service, and now go for around $50 mint in box. Fiesta Flare. This is an interesting one. Fiesta Flare is a pony that appeared in the short Pinkie Pie and the Ladybug Jamboree. Unlike other ponies in Ponyville, she speaks in a Latin American accent. Allegedly this, combined with her name and the fact that she plays the maracas, led her not to get a toy made of her. It's speculated that Hasbro might have thought her character was a stereotype of Mexican people, and didn't want the toy to cause any controversy. Some even like to theorize that the maracas on her cutie mark were repurposed into candy apples, and she was creatively renamed and re-released as, get this, Candy Apple. But we don't know any of that for sure. She never made any other appearances, except in A Twinkle Wish Adventure as a background pony. G3.5 is a prequel. In G3.5, a few of the characters are significantly younger than how they appear in G3, so that might mean that G3.5 is a prequel. It's more likely that it's just a different continuity, though. Alternate intro. The version of the G3 intro that everyone knows didn't show up until the Core 7 reboot, though there is a version of the classic My Little Pony intro that shows up in the My Little Pony live show. This version doesn't add any other melodies or verses, and is just a reworking of the G1 theme with some different lyrics. Latin America exclusives. There were a few G3 ponies that were exclusive to regions in Central and South America. These Brazilian ponies are nicknamed Babyzillas on the My Little Wiki, and seem to be versions of some of the G3 characters with different proportions, mainly a larger head. In Mexico, there were a few ponies that were labeled as collectible. They reportedly used a harder type of plastic than the other ponies, and came with your typical MLP accessories, like a comb. Toola Roola Celtic Origins. The Toola Roola that most fans know appears in the Core 7 shorts and in G3.5. But earlier in G3, there was a pony named Toola Roola with an entirely different color scheme and cutie mark. Her original cutie mark was based on a Celtic symbol called a triskelly. Triskelly? This Celtic influence extends to her name. Toola Roola derives from the song Tura Lura Tura Lurae, also known as That's an Irish Lullaby. In her later redesign, the swirls on her symbol were repurposed to be drawn by a paintbrush. Dragonite. Whimsy Weatherby is a dragon character who appears in A Twinkle Wish Adventure. She has the ability to change the weather with her breath and serves as the special's antagonist. According to the trivia page for G3 on TV Tropes, she's sometimes referred to as Dragonite, due to her appearance and the fact that she's a dragon. When I read this for the first time, I thought this was talking about a pony with a similar color scheme, but no. Plug and play game. Plug and play TV games were all the rage in the 2000s. Just plug the game into the AV port, then play. Simple as that. I always wanted the SpongeBob one as a kid, but what I eventually ended up with was this Namco one that we got like years later. Anyways, the game featured an exclusive pony named Puzzlement, and was, get this, another minigame collection. Players would have completed tasks around Ponyville in order to earn puzzle pieces that they would then have to use at the end of the game to make a puzzle. The game also had voice clips from the actors including Kathleen Barr, Andrea Libman, and Tabitha St. Germain. It's cool that they made one of these, and I want to see if I could ever find it someday, but compared to all the other neat plug-and-play consoles, this one looks super lame. Would it have bothered them that much to make this thing a pony's face, or the logo, or even like a horseshoe or something interesting? It's just a boring patch of grass. Ribbons and Hearts. Ribbons and Hearts, not to be confused with Baby Ribbons and Hearts from G1, or Ribbon Heart from G4, is the name of an unreleased pony that would have been released for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Though it was never sold at any convention or event, it reportedly showed up at an eBay auction in 2010, and was sold in China. Another thing to note was the pony also has a 3D cutie mark, like the ones I mentioned earlier. And yes, before somebody comments, I know that they had 3D cutie marks in G1. Desert Rose Salami. Desert Rose is a pretty unremarkable G3 pony. She had a background role in Dancing in the Clouds, A Very Minty Christmas, The Princess Promenade, and Twinkle Wish Adventure. She appeared in a storybook, a few pieces of merchandise, and this. This My Little Pony branded salami, or meatwurstie, or medwurst, or whatever, it's fake, but it fooled me. The idea that in the Netherlands, the text on the package is Dutch, there was once My Little Pony branded lunch meat isn't the craziest thing to believe, but not only does looking up My Little Pony salami in English and in Dutch yield only one result for this image, and no other instances of pony meat, it's painfully obvious that this is photoshopped. I mean, look at this. I even put this meme featuring the image in the first My Little Pony iceberg under the guise of it being real. But if it was real, this would be way further down the iceberg. Speaking of, let's move on to the 5th layer. Layer 5. More of the same on this layer, except you can start to see more crack theories and more obscure information pop up. If you couldn't tell, we're getting pretty deep. Green-haired Minty concept art. Minty originally was one of the main 6 ponies in the 1982 run of the My Little Pony figures, designed by Bonnie Zachary. There she had a green coat, white hair, and blue eyes. Originally, her G3 redesign was going to be similar. Concept art posted on the My Little Pony G3 wiki shows Minty with the green mane and eyes that look slightly bluer than with the final purple color that they went with. There's no source for this concept art, making it possible that this is just some guy on the G3 wiki making stuff up to sound interesting. Put a pin in that. This was suggested by somebody in one of the community posts. Apparently, there's a poly ship between Zipsy, Tiddlywinks, and Tralala. Not much to say, but it did remind me of the time I used to use Amino, and I went on what I thought was the Heathers Amino, but then the only thing people would talk about on there was polyamorous ships, and I went out and it turns it was the polyamorous Heathers ship Amino. Pink is a language. In the Twinkle Wish Adventure movie, Pinkie Pie is able to talk with a group of butterflies who show her the way to Whimsy's hideout. When asked how she's able to do this, she says that she can speak Pink. Again, a pretty funny joke in a not-so-good movie, but yeah, Pink is a language. Ponyville is an LPS ripoff. I don't know much about LPS, so don't crucify me if I get anything wrong about this. Littlest Pet Shop was a toy franchise that began in the early 90s and is still going today. The 2005 relaunch of the franchise is the most culturally relevant, having spawned a large community online in the 2010s. In the late 2000s, the franchise was incredibly popular. As somebody who grew up in that era, I should know. Tiny animal figures with big eyes that inhabited these elaborate high-concept playsets. Around this time is when the Ponyville line of MLP toys came out, which featured, get this, tiny pony figures with big eyes that inhabited these large, elaborate high-concept playsets. So, would this mean that Hasbro was ripping off their own toy line? Again, one for the G1 Iceberg, and later down here, Hasbro doesn't have an original bone in their body when it comes to marketing the MLP franchise past the 80s. That's What I Love About Christmas, alternate version. That's What I Love About Christmas is a song that's sung by Minty in A Very Minty Christmas. The song has an alternate version that's sung by Kathleen Barr in the end credit, while the original version that Minty sings is performed in character by Tabitha St. Germain. The end credits version is infinitely better, having different lyrics and actually staying on beat with the song. The original, Minty just sing-talks more than she actually sings. It's from Paris. This is a line in the clip show short Rainbow Dash's Special Day. In it, the other ponies get Rainbow Dash to come outside by telling her she has a package from Paris, France. Further cementing my theory that Ponyland is part of our world, the way it is in G1. Cookie censorship. This refers to a change made to the Core 7 MLP intro between G3 and G3.5. In the G3 version, Sweetie Belle holds out a plate of cookies that she baked for the other ponies. In G3.5, the cookies are replaced by fruit. I'm gonna guess that this was to promote healthy eating. You can't really get mad at it, but it's such a weird minor detail that they bothered changing. Looks like Michelle Obama couldn't even leave Ponyville alone. Blind bags. Late in G3.5, Hasbro started putting out these blind bags. You could get both opaque and transparent miniature ponies, as well as these mermaid ponies, which are exclusive to them. These are similar to the ones that they did early in G4 and continue to do even now with these miniature pony life and upcoming G5 ponies. While writing this, I was gonna go on a mini rant about blind bags and mystery surprise toys, but just like the Pony Project, that's gonna be its own video, because trust me, I've got a lot to say. G3.5 narrated by Core 7 Cheerilee. This is a theory that G3.5 and the stories that happened in that era are actually being told by Cheerilee from the normal G3. This would explain the more lighthearted and simple nature of the stories, like Twinkle Wish Adventure. Although, the voice actress who narrated the movie plays the mayor, not Cheerilee. Anna Kummer.
Hey guys, Rainbow Dash here. Please do not look up who voiced me in the 2009 straight-to-DVD movie My Little Pony: A Twinkle Wish Adventure.
Double hoof hearts. In G3, ponies have heart symbols printed on their hooves. Usually this was to show which hoof had the magnet on it. In the same catalog with the purple Pinkie Pie, the ponies actually have a different symbol, with a smaller heart above the normal one, like that one emoji. Spike is a reincarnated pony princess. This is a theory that Spike the Dragon is actually the reincarnation of a long-dead pony princess, or maybe a pony princess who got turned into a dragon. This is because of his knowledge of, like, royal stuff, as well as him saying that he'd want to be a princess. When Spike is first woken up, he references the fairy tale of The Princess and the Frog, wherein a prince gets turned into a frog and needs to be kissed by a princess to turn him back into a human, which could be evidence to the turned into a dragon theory. Another minor thing to note is that the area outside the castle that Spike is buried in is similar to the cave in the G1 arc, Quest of the Princess Ponies. That cave is also outside of a castle in Royal Paradise, which is an oasis-type area where the princess ponies, who control all of Ponyland's magic, live. Layer 6. I forgot to write anything for the intro to this layer, so let's get right into it. Ponyland is a communist utopia. Disclaimer, I'm not endorsing any specific ideologies with this entry, I just thought it was an interesting theory. The International Workers' Press describes the idea of communism as a classless, moneyless, stateless society. Throughout G3, we can see that the ponies don't have any form of currency. Never in G3 are any of the ponies charged for any of the goods and or services throughout Ponyville. Examples include the bakery and salon in A Charming Birthday and Princess Promenade respectively. There seems to be no distinction between the common pony and those seemingly at a higher social status. The Crystal Princesses are nothing but figureheads with no real political power who are appointed temporarily. Same goes for things like certain ponies being in charge of certain ceremonies. In the Princess Promenade, Wisteria rejects the idea of ruling over other ponies, and everyone is declared as equal. There's essentially no government in any of the pony societies. The only thing separating the Pegasus homeland of Butterfly Island from the Earth Pony homeland of Ponyville and the Unicorn homeland of Unicornia is distance. Many of the specials include the idea of uniting all three different kinds of ponies. The world in G3, as a result, could be seen by some viewers as the ideal communist society. Made in response to Barbie straight-to-DVD movies. In the 80s and into the 90s, if you wanted to sell a toy, you'd put a cartoon on TV. In the 2000s, it was different. The emerging market for DVDs led a lot of toy companies to produce straight-to-video tie-ins instead of investing the money in a full TV series. American Girl, Bionicle, Bratz, Strawberry Shortcake, Care Bears, and most notably, Barbie. As you can tell, most of these are girls' aisle toys. The first MLP special in the G3 series, A Charming Birthday, was released in 2003. 2 years after the first in the CGI Barbie series, which came out in 2001. Plans for G3 media were made before this point, but we'll be talking about that pretty soon. The Breezy Hive Mind. This is a theory that all of the breezes that we see in the Princess Promenade and Runaway Rainbow are part of a subconscious hive mind, because, you know, they're bugs. A big piece of evidence for this theory is the running gag of them doing everything together. Also, how they'll rub their antennas together when they figure something out. Almost like they're communicating information to the rest of the hive. Core 7 represents 7 deadly sins. Oh my god, this again. If you couldn't tell already, the iceberg is kinda bare in some sections. I really had to go digging for info to fill a lot of these out. Just like the Tails one, I put this one in here because it sounds like one of those spooky iceberg things. Icebergs in general, though, have sort of shifted away from that to talking about real information and more interesting theories that make you think. It's a double-edged sword, because that means while you do have a lot of icebergs where people have to actually dig up interesting info, you also have ones that aren't mysterious or creepy at all, and just really boring. That goes in both ways though, because if all the creepy stuff is the same in every one, it can get really boring too. I don't know. That was a big appeal of the Mario 64 one to some people, and I miss when iceberg videos weren't just a 2020 equivalent to a top 10 list. It was a new format for both genuinely interesting trivia and creepy stuff to be combined in one video. I love videos about both of those things, so it's the perfect format for people like me. The better ones are so long and dense too. You can watch or listen to them while playing a game or drawing or taking a walk or whatever. Such a rich experience. But now, you know what I hate about newer iceberg videos, or just all iceberg videos? When the person who's talking doesn't stay on topic. G5 is a G3 remake. It always comes back to Chris Chan, huh? Well, not really. While G5 is a G3 remake might sound like somebody coping with G5 coming out by dunking on it, the statement actually holds some ground. Consider my theory I proposed in the second My Little Pony Iceberg. That theory states that G4 is part of a branching timeline that ends with G3 in one instance. In that theory, the Pegasus, Unicorn, and Earth ponies coming to live together in G3 was after thousands of years of fallout from the bad ending of G4. And what's G5 about? All types of ponies coming together thousands of years after the events of G4. G3 and G5 do have the same place in the timeline, meaning that they could be seen as telling the exact same story. Rainbow Cult. This is a theory that the rainbow ceremony in Runaway Rainbow is some sort of a cult ritual. It kind of literally is, since the ponies need to use magic to usher in the rainbow. The way they talk about it in the special though, it seems like rainbows are of some religious significance to Ponyland. If that's the case, then Rainbow Dash's name and obsession with rainbows would make her more pious and interested in fashion. Extending that theory that rainbows are spiritual to ponies, wouldn't that go on to just colors in general? Minty is obsessed with the color green, and Pinkie is obsessed with the color pink, both of which are colors used by the 4 unicorn princesses to create the first rainbow of the season. First, MLP Rule 34. While we think of, as a thing that happened as a result of G4's popularity among adult men, material of that nature actually exists on the internet as far back as 2007. I don't encourage anybody, don't look it up. My Little Pony G3 Theory. This was a theory from the Creepypasta staff training wiki that unfortunately got taken down before I was able to look it up. What I remember was the basic idea that G3 was G4's version of heaven, since it's so peaceful and everybody's problems aren't as significant as the things that happen in G4. G3 is G4 Pinkie's imagination. This is in the same boat as the last theory. G3 could possibly be stories that G4's version of Pinkie Pie made up in her head, possibly while she's bored. That's another explanation for G3's tone, but given how off all of the G3 characters are from G4, this maybe could be Season 8 Pinkie Pie's imagination and not like Season 2 Pinkie. Maybe this is a humanized Pinkie Pie in G4's Equestria Girls series trying to imagine what the pony world is like. Fallen Order of Ponyland. This is based on the previous theory that Spike is some kind of reincarnated pony princess, who built all these castles that we see in Ponyland. In Unicornia, they have some use, but in Ponyville, they're just there for the ponies to hang out in. The theory goes that the ponies in Ponyville are living among the ruins of some other pony kingdom that fell, possibly among the ruins of Royal Paradise from G1. Not only would that explain the caves under the castle, but also the idea that there needs to be a princess, since the princess ponies, as I mentioned, control all of Ponyland's magic. In G1, there were 6 princess ponies, all using a different magic wand. You know who has magic wands in G3? The unicorns. Is it possible that maybe Unicornia is actually the ruins of Royal Paradise? That would make the Ponyville Castle Dream Castle. But if G3 takes place after G1, that would be a stretch, since in the My Little Pony movie from 1986, the ponies gave Dream Castle to the Grundles and moved into Paradise Estate. So that means that all the Grundles would have to be dead, and there would also have to be 4 wands in G3, but 6 in G1. This theory is really messy. I don't know where I was going with this. Lost CGI Pilot. Reportedly, there was originally a CGI pilot of G3 produced sometime in 2002 by N-Sky Studios and shown off at the MIPCOM trade show in October 22nd of that year. The pilot follows the same plot as A Charming Birthday, with the ponies needing to make a gift for Kimono. There's no real footage for this pilot, although you could conclude that footage was reused in a commercial from sometime around 2003. Or, the more likely story, this pilot is a hoax and the commercial footage was used for that and nothing else. Like the green hair Minty concept art, there's no source on this. Sky Studios has no trace on the internet, though it does credit Sparks Media, which does exist to my knowledge. The article on the wiki cites other articles which shows that Sky produced, though searching 3 out of 4 of these shows only gives results from fandom wiki articles and nothing else. On all of those other articles, and the article for the CGI G3 pilot, you can see the same person in the comments. In all these comment sections, they appear to be talking in complete nonsense, and in the G3 one, you can see them having random conversations with themselves. Going on the history of these pages reveals that they've been the ones editing all of them. Taking a step further and looking at this user's message wall, you can see people asking further about the G3 pilot, to which they barely respond. This user has apparently been blocked across the fandom network, whatever that means. The fact that somebody can go on these wikis and spread blatantly false information is something that's disappointing, to say the least. First researching this, it had me fooled for a bit, but then going deeper, it's clear that this is a hoax only made for attention. Attention that this person didn't even want, apparently. Shame on you, Mr. Spears. You had me fooled. And you too, Mrs. Spears.
Death to all of them.
Cancelled theatrical movie. Do not research. This sounds like another made-up Iceberg thing, but this actually has some evidence to it. On this pamphlet from 2003, they mention a My Little Pony movie to be released in theaters in October. It would have held around 1,000 to 1,500 showings before coming to home video and TV. A plot synopsis from Hasbro's website reads, "All the ponies in Ponyville are filled with excitement and getting ready for their big day celebrating friendship, but things don't go exactly as planned. In fact, they don't go anywhere near the plan. Join our My Little Pony friends on a high-flying celebration of teamwork, friendship, and love." So Jay, what did you think of it? It's speculated that this movie was cancelled for being too ambitious. And I want to add on to that maybe it might have been reworked or had its elements used in later G3 media. The plot summary is pretty vague after all, and could have worked for a few of the specials. They have a celebration in like every single one. But again, that's speculation. Okay, future me, you're gonna put the My Little Ponytails clip where she says that's speculation? Alright, you're looking sexy today. Ladybug song is psychological warfare. Yet another one that I got as a comment on a community post. The song Where the Ladybugs is notoriously catchy, so much so that people theorize that it could be a form of MK Ultra psychological warfare against the citizens of the United States. G3.75. Another thing I made up for the Iceberg chart. Well, kind of. This just means the distinction between G3, the Core 7, and G3.5, with there being 3 phases of the generation. If we're going by that logic, then what we know as G3.5 is actually G3.75. Steve Beaumont concept art. A post on the MLP Arena forums recounts one concept artist's experience with Hasbro in the late 90s. According to the post, there were a lot of concepts for ponies that we never got to see in G3, including Sea Ponies and a redesign of G1's Majesty. The post reads,
Back in 97 to 98, Hasbro asked if I would be interested in having a look at revamping their My Little Pony toys. Well, not just the toys, but to redevelop the look of the ponies. At the time, Japanese animation was already influencing the style of Western animation, so I went off in that direction. This was flat out rejected as it was considered too much of a departure at the time, so I decided to just simply modify the look of the ponies from the current style at the time. The feedback from Hasbro was that they needed to have more edge. I then produced a series of sketches, one of which is shown above, Majesty. Hasbro wasn't sure, but one of the marketing team asked me to look at developing some ideas for one of the collector's pieces. I threw in some iconic film suggestions, such as Edward Scissorhands. They couldn't do these due to the cost implications of buying the rights to the characters, but the sketches were well received, so they asked me to look at similar themes that had no copyright. This is what got me into trouble with Hasbro. For the limited edition collector's pieces, they wanted something a little edgy. I was asked to take it as far as I can. Just run with it. My 80s throwback My Little Goth Pony raised a few eyebrows, but it was My Little Fetish Pony that closed the door at Hasbro. I did get paid though, so it's not a complete tragedy.
I'd be showing you more of these, except the website that I was linked to needed me to log in to see the photos, so I did, then it booted me back to the home page, so I went back to the link I got, but it needed me to log in, so I logged in and it booted me back to the home page. That's a shame, because this art is super nice. And now that it's brought up, I can really see the anime influence that not only did he go for here, but that G3 would envelop into its style. I mean, look at these eyes. Yet again, I'll be linking to the post so that people in the description can read it and maybe actually see all of the pictures. That's the Iceberg. I'd like to give a big thanks to all the blogs and other resources that helped me compile all this stuff. Heck Yeah Pony Scans, G3 Resource, and G3 Facts on Tumblr, StrawberryReef.com, MLPArena.com, the G3 Wiki, and My Little Wiki. I had a lot of fun researching and writing this Iceberg. Maybe it's the fact that I get to soak myself in something that isn't G4 or G5, but there were so many interesting little rabbit holes to dive into here. In fact, researching this alone gave me some ideas for some other videos. I'd like to thank everybody who got this far in the video, and ask anybody who hasn't yet to like, subscribe, click the notification bell, and all that good stuff. Comment down below any facts or theories about G3 that I might have missed. Hopefully by the time this video is out, my Patreon page will be fully set up, but if it's not, look out for that. Don't forget to follow me on my other socials linked in the description, and I can't think of a better outro, so until next time, goodbye.